Sa pagpapatuloy ng ating diskusyon tungkol sa fake news at paglaban sa fake news, sasagutin namin ang ilang mga katanungan ng mga kabataang aming nakausap.
Mahalaga ang mapag-uusapan natin sa episode na ito lalo't papalapit na ang eleksyon. Dapat tamang impormasyon ang alam natin at huwag magpabiktima sa fake news.
Kaya samahan niyo po kami sa episode na ito ng Trabaho at Iba Pa dito sa Iba Tayong Pinoy.
Earlier, we will go to our open forum. May mga few questions tayo online. May mga nasend din sa akin sa ating private messaging. And this is the good stuff. Kasi talagang directly we can ask our speakers and our guests kung ano yung gusto nyong itanong sa kanila. Let me first throw this question. At this point, since we have a lot of time, I will ask the three speakers to answer this. Like, ng isa-isa. Unahin na natin si Miss Maset, tapos si Miss Marlene, tapos si Dale. The question is, hang on, let me open this. The question is from the chat box, and it was asked by one of the co-founders of the Youth Leaders of the Philippines, one of the core group founding members, Hadrian. He's from PUP. The question is, regardless of high Filipino functional literacy rate of 91.6% of populace literate in 2019, according to PSA, why do we still see a substantial number of Filipinos falling into the trap of misinformation and the likes? So, Miss Mase, ano sa tingin mo ang take mo dyan? Totoo nga naman ba? Ang taas ng literacy rate ng Filipinos, pero bakit very susceptible tayo sa fake news?
Oo. Hi, Hadrian. Taga-PUP ka pala. Tropa ko pala to eh. Pero thank you, Errol. Actually, palagay ko, isa doon sa mga nakaka-apekto in this generation, yung social media. Kasi before naman nung kabataan natin, not so long ago, no? Hindi pa naman ganun talaga kalawak yung usage of social media. Kailan na lang ba nauso yan? So before kasi, since ang channel or ang means natin to communicate to the public, for the longest time, nakakahon siya sa television, radio, and print. So before, nung nakakahon pa sa ganitong media channel, yung information dissemination natin, ang usual process bago ma-publish or ma-air yung isang news or yung isang story, kailangan dumadaan muna siya sa 3 layer of verification. Meaning, bago siya ma-public, i-confirm mo muna sa 3 reliable sources. Medyo matagal. So habang nagiging modern yung generation natin, nababago na rin yung process. Nandiyan na yung factor ng oras. Nandiyan na yung time. Diba? Dahil sa technology, it's very important na makita natin kung ano yung nangyayari sa mismong oras. Kaya nga nauso yung live. Dati, ang live natin, nakikita lang natin sa TV. Napapanood lang natin sa TV, naririnig lang natin sa radio. Pero ngayon, ang live, kahit sa Facebook, pwede ka nang mag-live. Kahit sa Twitter, pwede ka nang mag-live. So napakarami ng channel para makapag-live. Because of that, nakikita natin na medyo nababawasan yung procedure natin sa pag-filter kung ano yung tamang information sa mali. 'Di ba? Especially now na hindi lang naman journalist yung pwedeng mag-live. Even an ordinary netizen can do live streaming anytime they want. Meron tayong Kumu, 'di ba? Na pwede kang mag-live, magsalita ng kahit na anong gusto mong sabihin. Marami na tayong channel. And because of that, mas lumalawak yung channel of information natin. At dahil mas lumalawak siya, mas nagiging mahirap din to filter the information if it's right or wrong. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na nababawasan yung talino ng mga tao. I think it's because mabilis din yung pag-usad ng technology, so it's easier for us to disseminate the information, which makes it harder for us to also filter the factual information from fake.
I totally agree. May gusto ka bang idagdag dyan, Miss Marlene or Dale?
Tama yung sinabi ni Ate Maseno. Yung minsan din, napapansin ko lang may mga biases yung ilan, ano. So kapag minsan parang ganito yung gusto nilang makita sa social media, minsan minsan yun na yung parang pinaniniwalaan nila agad, parang nag-a-agree sila doon sa nakikita nila, yung gusto nilang marinig. So for me, minsan parang na rin sarili na rin parang biases ng mga nagbabasa. So, pero yun nga, yung maganda na masabi natin ngayon na hindi porket nasabi yung gusto mong marinig, dapat ikaw sa sarili mo, aminin mo rin kung totoo ba to o baka nagagamit ka lang ng kung sino, di ba? So, yun.
Actually, related yung answer mo dun sa second follow-up question ni Adrian, yung does political bias ba affects itong sitwasyon and the like? So, na-link doon sa yung sagot kanyang second.
Oo.
Dale, do you have anything to add on the question of Adrian?
Aside sa sinabi ni Merlin, which are both highly likely, one thing din na siguro for me, I think bakit marami pa rin Filipino would fall into the trap of misinformation is because kahit mataas yung literacy rate, sometimes many people would tend to just look at the headlines or kung ano yung nakalagay lang, hindi na binubuksan yung articles nila. Kasi, kumbaga parang we live in a world na sobrang mabilisan lahat. Kumbaga naubusan tayo ng we think like kailangan lahat mabilisan. And kung ano yung makita na, yun na agad. Kasi parang a big part of our population, hindi naman din ganon yung access sa internet. Kalawak yung access nila sa internet. Some are still restricted. Well, sinasabi rin naman nila dati na, di ba, kumaga sa Facebook, marami dyan yung gumagamit na ng free data which cannot actually open yung mismong link. Kaya, kung ano yung nakikita na lang nila doon, yun yung agad yung pinapaniwalaan.
The three of you are journalists and you are mostly the one that creates the news. Not really to create the news, like gives the news to the people. What if may instances ba na nakapag-share kayo ng isang fake news or nakapag-report kayo ng isang fake news? And what were the impact of this and what did you do to minimize that impact? Kasi I'm sure yung iba sa atin gusto rin nang malaman yan. Paano kung ako yung nakapag-share ng fake news or kayo, for example, kayo yung nakapag-create ng fake news which have you experienced that? May ganun ba kayong incident before and what did you do?
I remember an incident wherein our organization nakapag-air ng news na may mali. But hindi siya sinasadya. May mga pagkakataon kasi na sa pagmamadali, kaya na nga sinasabi ko sa news kasi time is very important eh. So may mga tao rin tayo eh. Hindi rin naman lahat ng mga ini-air natin na story tama lahat. 'Di ba? May mga pagkakataon na minsan nagkakamali ng pagsusulat ng story yung writer, minsan nagkakamali ng pag-edit ng video yung video editor. It happens. So sa mga pagkakataong kagaya niyan na nagkakamali, ang principle namin is that tell the people that it's wrong. Admit your mistake. 'Di ba? Kasi sa atin, as journalists, credibility is very important. Kapag nawala yung credibility mo as a journalist, sino nang manonood sa'yo? Sinong maniniwala sa'yo? 'Di ba? Ang laki ng kawalan kapag nawalan ka ng credibility. So, para hindi mawala yung tiwala sa iyo ng tao, kailangan sabihin mo sa kanila kung ano yung totoo. So since nagkamali ka, admit to the people na mali yung istorya, mali yung na i-ere natin na story, and then apologize. And then tell them honestly what happened. And tell them kung ano yung correct version of the news, kung ano yung correct version of the story. In that way, makikita mo sa kanila that you are being that you're being true to the story, you're doing your job as a journalist, kaya lang may pagkakataon na yung pagkakamali hindi naiiwasan.
Actually, maraming incident yan, particularly in the COVID, kung paano i-address. I won't name names, I won't name incidents, pero maraming mga practices na sinasabi nilang, oh, you have to do this particular method para hindi ka mag-COVID and everything, and hindi naman siya back up ng medical field or anything. And sometimes depending nga kung sinasadya ba or hindi sinasadya. Anyway, Aliyah, take it. Can you put that next question on the line?
So, hello po. So, we got a next question from Miss Kate Losong. Reposting question, okay, good evening po, ma'am. TikTok is commonly used by the younger one. How can we explain it to someone that is younger na yung nakikita nila or nababasa nila ay hindi tama? So, if you want to answer po the question, just on your microphones.
Ano yung nakikita ng bata sa matanda is ginagaya, which I think is still relevant pagdating sa panahon ngayon, especially in TikTok. As early as 3 or 4 or 5 years old, may nagti-TikTok na. Even yung pamangkin ko was a 5-year-old girl is already doing TikTok. So, paano nga ba sasabihin sa kanila na hindi or hindi tama yung ginagawa nila? Siguro, one way of doing that is to explain properly that yung content na nakikita sa TikTok isn't always kumbaga the real thing. Pwede yung nakikita mo sa TikTok, pwede mo siyang explain in a way na parang so don't tell, ipakita mo yung difference ng tama at saka yung mali. That way kasi yung mga bata mas na-appreciate nila or mas naiintindihan nila kung kapag nakikita nila, hindi yung basta sinasabihan mo lang. Kasi we all, kumbaga lahat tayo dumaan sa phase na yun. And we all know na mas maiintindihan ng isang bata na kapag ka nakikita. Diba? Basta, Marlene.
Yes. Idagdag ko rin maganda rin na syempre i-guide nung mas sabihin natin na hindi lahat talaga ng information ngayon na nakikita mo sa social media ay totoo. So at saka hindi din dapat lahat gayahin, So maganda talaga yung may proper guidance tayo, lalo na ngayon sa social media na 'di ba? Sa social media yung platforms parang allow almost anyone to publish their thoughts or share information or stories to anyone na kahit alam naman natin na yung iba doon hindi totoo. Katulad nga ng example ko rin kanina, 'di ba? May mga kumakalat na kung ano-anong challenges, and yon dapat mahalaga rin sa parents and sa atin na bantayan ito. At kung may nakita tayo, nabalitaan tayong gano'n, kami naman ay ma-report din para pag nakita rin nila, ay malaman nila na ito yung mga dapat gawin at hindi rin mga hindi dapat paniwalaan, lalo na sa TikTok.
Yun. Sorry, ang ganda ng answers ng ating mga speakers. Meron akong isang question na nakita din doon sa post ni Pia doon sa chat, which is actually yun din yung gusto kong itanong. Kung napansin natin, most of the fake news na nakikita natin and nasi-share sa mga groups, sadly, sometimes nasi-share ng mga aunties, uncle in our family group chats even. The question is, sa tingin ninyo, if for example, you saw fake news on shared by a family member or a friend in your social media account, are we morally obliged? Or are we is it our responsibility to point out first na fake news yan. And what will we do as the one who received the fake news, knowing that it is a fake news? Second is that how can we do this without affecting or offending the people on the other side of the lie? Kasi pag sinabihan mo nga minsan yung ibang tao, di ba, parang, oy, fake news po yan, baka ma-offend. And as Filipinos, we don't like that. We don't want to be very confrontational. So sa tingin nyo, how can we address this particular aspect of the fake news na hindi natin pwedeng iwasan kasi existing?
Siguro, balikan ko yung sinabi ko kanina na everyone has a responsibility to combat the scourge of fake news. Morally right for us to correct them, to tell them na mali or na fake news yung sinishare nila. Although in our culture kasi parang it's really bad o masamang tingnan na parang i-correct mo yung nakakatanda sa inyo. One way of doing that is telling them nicely na mali yung ginagawa. Mali yung snare. I've done that before. Kasi na parang I've talked to an auntie who's a lot older and explained to her na fake news po yung snare mo. Fake news yung nirepost mo. There's nothing wrong in telling older people or elders na may mali. Siguro, ang magiging mali lang doon is kung paano mo sila i-approach. Kasi the way we speak will always matter. Kasi yun yung nakakasira ng relationship, not yung pagkukorek mo eh. If you will correct them the right way, the proper way, then walang relationship na masisira and matutulungan mo pa sila to help them na to know kung alin yung fake news and alin yung based on facts.
Can I add to that? I agree to Dale. It is our moral obligation to stop the spread of fake news kasi we don't want other people to be misinformed. Gusto natin properly educated sila kung ano yung totoong nangyayari. So it is our moral obligation na pigilan yung pagkalat ng fake news. Kapag hindi natin itinama yung tao na nagkalat ng fake news, kahit na alam natin na malinaw na fake news yan, para nating tinolerate yung pagkalat ng fake news. Wala tayong ginawa. Nanood lang tayo. Now let's say, tita natin yan, mas nakakatanda. And syempre, nakakahiya naman na i-correct mo siya doon sa mismong thread nyo, sa group na ang dami-daming nakakabasa. You can simply call your tita or your tito, or you can simply send her a private message and then tell her na, tita, hindi po ganyan yan. Nasa paraan ng pagsasabi mo naman yan eh. Parang yung kanina, yung question kanina on how to make a younger person understand. Di ba, na fake news yung nakikita nila dun sa TikTok na hindi totoo yan. Whether matanda or bata, it's also important for a communicator to adjust and to use the language that they use. Hindi ba? So pagka bata yung pinagpapaliwanagan mo, edi makipag-usap ka na ang gamit mo, language ng mga bata, ano ba yung naiintindihan nila? Gusto ba nila animated? Na, uy, bad yan, wag mong gagawin yan. Mag-adjust ka dun sa language niya. Is it your tita na kailangan ng correction? Edi talk to your tita using her language para magkaintindihan kayong dalawa. Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, sabi nga ni Dale kanina, moral obligation natin yan. Kapag hindi natin pinigilan, nasa na yung responsibilidad natin, di ba, bilang citizen?
Tsaka nangyayari talaga yan. Maraming rin akong kakilala at ibang mga tita na nakikita na nagsishare ng mga fake news. So talagang mahalaga na ikaw na mismo yung magsabi sa kanila. And tama yon, i-direct message mo na lang sila or tawagan mo na lang sila at mag-send ka rin ng, kung talagang hindi nila maintindihan, pwede ka mag-send ng article, di ba? Baka doon maniwala rin sila.
May question po tayo from our FB Live. So, our question is from Mr. Aaron Jerry Apalis. Nowadays, many influencers and personalities are spreading fake news based on conspiracy theories and political related without evidence. How can we lessen those beliefs that many people?
Una sa lahat, if you are not sure of the source, pwede mo siyang i-background check. check mo yung ano niya, check mo yung account niya. For example, sa Facebook, i-check mo yung account niya, ano ba yung history ng mga post niya. Tingnan mo, kapag nag-post ba siya, nagki-credit ba siya ng source niya? Kung hindi niya nilalagyan ng credit yung pinupost niya, kung saan nanggaling yung source niya, medyo nababawasan yung credibility niya. Kasi ano yan, basta pinost mo lang ng hindi mo pinag-isipan. Pangalawa, why is it important to check the background of the source? Tingnan mo, yung mga pinupost niya ba, affiliated ba sa isang political organization? Kasi kung affiliated siya or nakikita mong solid supporter siya ng isang political figure, alam mo na agad na meron din siyang agenda sa pagpo-post niyan kasi meron pala siyang sinusuportahan na political figure. 'Di ba? So it's very important to check not just the source but the history of his or her post to make sure kung, teka muna, ano bang agenda mo sa pagpo-post niyan? And from there, magkakaroon ka na ng mas matalinong analysis whether pwede mong paniwalaan yung post niya or not.
Actually, mag-agree din ako dun sa sinabi ni Ate Mase kanina. No? Mahalaga talaga na alamin mo kung ano ba yung agenda nitong nagpo-post na to. Kung affiliated siya sa isang grupo at ano yung gusto niyang palabasin doon sa mga post niya. At yun nga, ikaw rin sa sarili mo, dapat marunong ka rin na kumilates doon sa mga information na nababasa mo. Kasi hindi tulad ng mga panahon dati, di ba? Ngayon talaga, kahit sino pwedeng mag-post ng kung ano-ano, kahit na hindi yan, kahit na, yun nga, sinasabi natin, invento lang yung iba na storya or misleading yung mga information. So, mahalaga na ikaw talaga sa sarili mo, marunong kang kumilatis, mag-effort ka para i-check yung mga dapat mong information na i-check doon sa article na yun o doon sa mga binabasa mo bago ka maniwala. So, hindi dahil sa sinabi lang na isang personality or influencer, mahalaga rin na ikaw na nagbabasa, alam mo, marunong ka rin talagang tumingin at mag-verify ng mga information.
Any tips for medical professionals to communicate complex facts to lay people better? Most subject matter experts often struggle with this. I think all of you should answer this question because
yes,
not only with medical professionals, with like complexity of terms from different fields.
yes.
Thank you
Yun, Errol, para dun sa kapatid natin sa Singapore. Ito nga yung nasabi ko rin kanina. It's very important to use the language of your listener, of your audience, para magkaintindihan kayo. Kasi kung nasa medical profession ka, syempre hindi naman namin naiintindihan bilang ordinaryong Pilipino, 'di ba? Yung mga terms ng medicine, napaka nosebleed naman 'yan kapag sinubukan nating gamitin yung terms na 'yan. So, it's also important to use the language of ordinary people para magkaintindihan tayo. For example, yung pinakang recent issue on ivermectin. Alam natin, ivermectin is a brand of medicine na tinitingnan ngayon kung effective ba siya talaga sa paggawa ng COVID-19. Pag ginamitan nyo naman kami ng mga term ng klase ng disease, klase ng illness na nagagamot nito, syempre hindi naman natin maiintindihan yan. So, pwede nating gamitan ng mga simpleng term na para saan ba to? Gamot na pang hayop yan, hindi yan pang tao. Yun lang yung approved dito sa Pilipinas. O di mas naintindihan namin na panghayop pala siya, hindi pala siya pang tao. Na yung gamot pala na ivermectin na pang tao, kasalukuyan pang pinag-aaralan ngayon ng Food and Drug Administration para malaman kung mabisa siya o hindi. At kapag naaprubahan na ng FDA, that's the only time na pwede siyang i-distribute para magamit panggamot ng COVID-19. Gawin nating simple yung lingwahe to the point na nakakapag-adjust tayo dun sa level ng mga nakikinig. Kaya alam mo sa mga communicator, it's very important that first we should know sino ba yung kausap natin. Kasi pagka nakita natin kung sino yung kausap natin, sino ba yung target audience natin, it will be much easier for us to choose the terms na kailangan nating gamitin para merong understanding.
May follow-up question ako doon. You said you must know your audience, but we know that the TikTok generation right now, particularly social media, wala tayong capability as people na hindi naman naka-business affiliate ang mga accounts to have that filter, which means that everything we post ay hindi naman na-filter ng itong age lang ang makakakita. So how will we address that? Kasi syempre limitations natin yan.
That's why it's important for an account holder kagaya ng TikTok, kagaya ng YouTube, na kapag magpapalabas ka ng video or ng information, kung hindi ka familiar kung ano yung klase ng audience, dahil sa lawak nga naman ng audience ng TikTok at ng YouTube, dapat meron kang target audience sa sarili mo. Mag-set ka, sino ba yung target audience mo? Kanina mo ba gustong iparating itong mensahe nito? Ano ba yung age bracket? Ang target mo ba na kausapin ay mga teenager? Ang target mo ba na kausapin ay yung mga adult? And then from there, pag nagkaroon ka ng target audience, ng target market, dun ka magsisimula kung paano mag-a-adjust ng language to use.
Okay, understood. Do you want to add something doon, Miss Marlene on Dale? Ang ganda na itong question na to. I'm really enjoying this particular question. Dale, Marlene?
Actually, yung tanong ni Elise is hindi lang siya talaga close doon for medical terms or medical professionals. Sabi mo kanina, for all subject matter experts, especially when we talk about economy or other topics. Kasi di ba parang, you all, sabi nga ni Mase, kailangan alam mo yung language ng tao. Kailangan simplest words possible na kayang intindihin. Sa amin kasi, we were taught to always think paano maiintindihan ng isang tao sa kalsada yan. Kumbaga, we usually, ng isang tambay, pag napanood yan, maiintindihan ba niya. We always go down to their level. We always adjust to the audience's level. Hindi pwede yung audience yung susunod sa'yo. Kasi kapag hindi na nila naiintindihan from the start, bibitaw na siya agad. And kung ano na lang yung ma-pick up niya, automatic yun na yun. Kahit sabihin natin, pwede siyang ma-take out of context. So yun yung danger lang nun. Always remember na when you're talking to, halimbawa, a non-medical profession na person, always find the right words na it doesn't matter kung sobrang simple yung words na gagamitin mo as long as maiintindihan niya. You can also use comparison or you can compare and contrast para rin makatulong doon sa pagpapaintindi doon sa kausap mo or sa audience.
Although nakikita ko rin kasing challenge dyan, Dale, and to all of the speakers, relating dun sa mga professional terms, is that minsan, as the one conveying the message, minsan kasi hindi na i-explain ng normal words, ng simpler words, yung accuracy of what you would like to explain. And the only way you can do that is by using the military jargon or the terms. You know, so I think yun yung pinakamalaking challenge dyan sa issue na ito. Okay, Marlene, do you want
okay din na isipin mo muna ano ba talaga yung gusto mong sabihin. And then, kung hindi mo talaga maiwasan, gamitin yung mga medical terms, edi magbigay ka na lang ng example na ano mo yun nga, parang i-compare mo, magbigay ka ng example na para sa isang sitwasyon na para mas madaling maintindihan ng kausap mo. Parang 'di ba, parang sa amin sa broadcasting, minsan parang susulat kami ng script, ang palagi namin iniisip, yun nga, paano mo kakausapin? Paano ka lang kakausapin mo yung kaibigan mo? Kailangan yung pinakasimpleng mga words yung gamitin mo at saka yung mas madaling mong maintindihan. At saka kung alam mo rin kung ano yung gusto mong sabihin. And yun nga, kung hindi mo kayang palitan yung term, kung sa tingin mo importante malaman nila na ito yung term na kailangan nilang marinig, ano? Pero yun, i-compare mo na lang sa isang situation o kung anong kaparehas na word na parang mas madaling maintindihan.
I'd like to add dun sa sinabi ni Marlene. Tama yon, example or analogy. That's one of the best ways on how to explain yung mga medyo komplikadong term. Meron akong naaalala, I forgot the name of the official from the Department of Health. Pero ang galing ng analogy niya, nung nag-e-explain siya kung paano makaka-apekto sa baga natin yung sigarilyo at yung vape. Ang sabi niya, Siyempre, ang hirap naman i-explain nung di ba, mga medical terms sa lungs natin. Pero para mas maunawaan, ang ginawa niyang explanation, gumawa siya ng analogy. Ang sigarilyo at saka yung vape, parehong masama yan sa katawan. Kumbaga, pag pumapanik ka sa building, kung tumalon ka mula sa 21st floor at tumalon ka mula sa 10th floor, hindi ba pag pareho kang tumalon, pareho ka rin namang patay? So, ganun lang yun. So, it will be much easier for the audience to understand and to decipher kung ano yung gusto mong iparating through examples and analogy.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. I think we still have other questions. Aliyah, can you throw the other questions now?
Yes, Kuya, we still have a question here. So, our next question po is that malapit na ang election. So, what role do you think disinformation and fake news will play in the campaigns? And do you think malaki ang epekto nito sa resulta ng halalan, especially since candidates are increasingly going digital to reach their voters?
We've seen 2016 elections, we've seen 2019 elections, and nakita natin kung paano ano yung naging role ng misinformation, disinformation, and fake news during those elections. May nakita tayo na, let's say, candidate o political candidate na sinasabing for frontrunner, but dahil sa, let's say, at the start pa lang ng campaign or filing pa lang, nakikita na natin, di ba? Sinisiraan yung mga candidates, one candidate to another. So, malaki yung impact niya pagdating sa voting consideration ng tao. Siyempre, if madaling mapapaniwala ng isang camp yung voters, that would translate to getting their vote in favor of them. And rampant ang fake news in our digital world. We have troll farms everywhere. Every candidate has their own troll farms that will help doon sa pag-spread ng disinformation and fake news.
Isa dun sa mga objective sa pagpapakalat ng fake news is to discredit a particular political figure. So expected natin yan. Tuwing kampanya, mas talamak yung pagkalat ng mga ganyang klase ng balita, ganyang klase ng propaganda. Kaya kung makikita nyo yung style ngayon ng ilang mga politiko natin, hindi sila nag-a-announce ng maaga kapag plano nila na kumandidato. Kasi pag nag-announce ka ng maaga na plano mong tumakbong pagkapangulo, kung ano man, mas napaghahandaan ka ng kalaban, mas nakakaisip sila ng mga ways kung paano sisirain yung pangalan mo. Ang problema pa man din dito talaga sa Pilipinas, ang mga botante, ang thinking natin sa pagboto, personality-based pa rin. Ibig sabihin, ang pinagbabasihan natin sa pagpili ng mga iboboto, nakakalungkot mang aminin, yung popularidad. Kapag ka nakita natin, oy, kilala ko to, tumatalon to sa building, ito yung sumasakay ng kabayo, action star to, nakikipag-boxing to eh. Okay to, boto natin to. 'Di ba? Sad truths. Pero ganun yung nangyayari sa atin, personality-based. Hindi tayo nagbabase kung ano yung mga plataforma nila na ay papataasin nito yung contribution sa SSS para pag nag-retire ako mas malaki yung makukuha kong pensyon. Hindi ganun klaseng mag-isip yung karamihan, majority sa voter natin. This is the sad reality. Personality-based yung pagpili natin sa mga iboboto natin, which is sana mabago natin through educating the voters. Pero dahil nga for now, karamihan pa rin ang bumoboto, personality-based, asahan na natin yung mga paninira na ganyan at yung mga pagkalat ng fake news. So para dun sa mga boboto ngayon, ito lang ang masasabi ko. Dahil it is very difficult to identify kung ano dun sa mga pinapakalat ng politiko yung totoo at hindi. Palagi, all the time, pakinggan nyo all sides of the story. Huwag ka lang makikinig dun sa admin. Huwag ka lang makikinig dun sa opo. Pareho mo silang pakinggan. And then as much as possible, read as many news articles as you can para maging maalam ka at mas magkaroon ka ng knowledge sa pag-identify kung sino sa mga to yung nagsasabi ng totoo.
mas maganda rin kasi talaga naman nangyayari yan yung mga siraan, 'di ba, dati pa mas mabilis lang kumalat ngayon kasi through social media na. Marami ng paraan, 'di ba? Isang post mo lang marami nang mag-share, marami nang makakakita nung post mo. So maganda na bilang ikaw yung nakakakita doon, maganda rin na bukas yung isip mo na para na yun nga, pakinggan yung side ng lahat ng involved doon, Hindi lang yung porket narinig mo na yung gusto mo na for example, politiko, lahat ng sasabihin ng kabila, experience yung isa nung kabila, feeling mo, lahat yan fake news na, hindi yan totoo. So, dapat bukas rin yung isip mo na pakinggan lahat ng sides dun sa storya.
Thank you, Miss Marlene. So, Ate Pia, you can ask your question.
Yes. Ito kasi yung problem dahil marami sa mga kabataan mostly, natatakot din sila na i-elevate yung level ng discourse sa social media dahil sinasabi niya, wow, ikaw na yung matalino, ikaw na yung magaling dito sa topic na to. How do we elevate itong level ng discourse on social media, or how do we call out yung mga fake news peddlers without the fear of being smart-shamed? Sa pag-aaral natin ng broadcast communication, meron tayong subject na communication theories. Sa communication theories, merong isa dyan na tinatawag na spiral of silence. So, kahit noon pa man, ibase natin sa kasaysayan, kahit nung wala pang social media, style na talaga yan. Ang spiral of silence, ang nangyayari dyan, kapag may isang tao na nagsasalita, pagtutulong-tulungan siya ng maraming tao, kokontrahin siya. Ang ending, dahil kinokontra siya at pinagtutulungan siya ng maraming tao, mananahimik na lang siya. Kaya siya tinawag na spiral of silence. Kasi iniisip nung communicator na yan, ano ba yan, inaaway nila ako. So kumbaga nawawala na siya ng confidence to speak up. Which should not be the case. Especially if gusto mo lang namang sabihin yung saloobin mo. I mean, pagka nag-share ka ng opinion mo, hindi naman yung pag-share ng fake news opinion mo yun di ba? Wala namang makakapag-question na kahit na sino sa opinion mo. So tayo, Pia, nakaka-relate tayo dito, di ba? Especially kapag ka mga press conference ng Malacanang kasi lagi yung naka-live sa Facebook. So habang nagtatanong yung mga reporters ng mga issues, hottest issues, di ba? Ang style ng ibang mga netizen, at palagay ko yung iba naman sa kanila talagang trolls lang, hindi ba? Babatikusin yung mga nagtatanong if they don't like the line of questioning, di ba? Ang bobo naman ng reporter na yan, anong klaseng tanong yan? Ang objective sa pagpo-post ng mga ganong klase ng statement, para patahimikin ka. Tumigil ka na, wag mo nang pinagtatatanong yan, walang kwenta yan. Kahit na ikaw bilang journalist, alam mo naman na importanteng matanong yun dahil maraming taong concerned doon. So ako personally, ang ginagawa ko na lang as a journalist, kapag merong mga particular topic na kailangan mo talagang i-discuss, you just ignore the trolls. You just ignore the netizens. Kung alam mo naman na meron silang hidden agenda, lalo na kapag yung mga live radio programs, ang daming mga nagko-comment dyan. Lalo na kapag mga political issues, lagi ka nilang itatag. Kung hindi ka DDS, dilawan ka. Kahit na alam mo naman sa sarili mo na hindi naman yun totoo. So mahirap na hindi magpa-apekto. Pero kung gusto mo talagang gawin yung trabaho mo as a communicator, you simply have to ignore them. Especially kung trolls sila at hindi naman talaga nagmamatter sa sarili mo kung ano man yung opinion nila. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Dale. Do you have something to add?
Sa akin kasi, sa akin, hindi mo kailangan matakot if you know you're right, or if you know you're using your facts as your basis in elevating your discourse. Kasi parang wala na sila kasi masagot to rebut your statements or your facts. Kumbaga, keep your facts. Huwag niyo isipin na mas smart shame kayo. What's wrong? Kung mas smart shame ka, diba? Parang kung matalino ka, it does not necessarily mean matalino ka, but alam mo kung alin yung tama. Kaya mong sabihin, ito yung tama, ito yung mali. So, ituloy mo lang yung pagsasabi or paglaban mo doon sa fake news and disinformation. Kasi hindi matatapos yung pagsa-smart shame nila kung pati ikaw matatakot.
Marlene?
Oo, medyo mahirap talaga yung situation natin ngayon, no? Pero ang importante, like yung sinasabi nga natin Masi kanina, pag nagtatanong ka pa lang, ikaw na yung inaatake nila. Pero 'di ba ang mahalaga doon, hindi mas mahalaga doon yung isasagot sa nung ini-interview mo. Kasi kung paano nila maipaliwanag yung mga controversial issues, mas maganda nga na marinig mo kung paano nila sasagutin 'di ba? Hindi yung nagtatanong ka pa lang kasi talagang ikaw na dahil para ayaw nga nilang mapag-usapan na yung mga issue na yun. So parang tama, wag ka na lang matakot at gawin mo na lang kung ano yung tama at saka pumili ka na lang ng mga magpapaapekto kung alin doon yung feeling mo dapat maapektuhan ka. Pero kung wala ka naman ginagawang masama at saka nagsasabi ka lang rin lang ng totoo at ginagawa mo rin lang yung trabaho mo, hayaan mo na lang yung mga sinasabi ng iba.
And if I may add, sobrang hirap ng ganyan na situation, lalo na for us, mga journalists na, sa pagtatanong lang nga natin kahit paano, naapektuhan din tayo dun sa mga comments nila. What more kung ikaw ay isang kabataan, isang youth leader, na ang intention mo lang naman is to correct kung ano yung fake news na lumalabas sa social media. So, ang importante nga dyan is we continue na gawin kung ano yung goal natin, which is to correct kung ano man yung disinformation na nangyari at huwag tayong magpapa-apekto. That's one good thing na natutunan ko dito sa mga sagot ninyo.
Okay. Aliyah, do we still have any other questions?
Yes, Kuya, we still have a question from Miss Jinky Versosa Prado in Facebook. So, this is a great question, no? As an advocate against fake news, what can you do to empower youth against this one pressing issue amidst the pandemic, since social media is the trend platform of different transaction online?
Aliyah, ayan. Kaya nga maganda yung mga platform na kagaya nito. 'Di ba? Kasi we're using social media to educate the youth kung paano ma-identify yung fake news. Bakit ba merong mga taong nagpapakalat ng fake news? Ano ba yung agenda nila? Pero bilang mga netizen, bilang kabataan, ano ba yung pwede nating gawin para pigilan yung pagkalat nito? Because we want the people to understand that it is our moral obligation to stop the spread of fake news. Otherwise, marami silang mabibiktima na ayaw nating mangyari. So, actually, suportado natin yung mga platform na kagaya nito sa Facebook Live, 'di ba? And kami sa organization namin, sa mga news organization, patuloy kaming nagiging maingat, patuloy tayong nagiging maingat sa pag-confirm at pag-verify ng facts bago natin i-ere to make sure na tama yung naririnig ng mga tao.
Thank you, Miss Maricel, Sir Dale, and Miss Marlene. Do you want to add up po?
Sorry, Aliyah, I didn't hear the question. Can you please repeat?
Sure po. As an advocate for fake news, so how can you empower youth against this one? Because it is a pressing issue amidst the pandemic, since social media is the trend platform of different online transactions.
Okay, I believe, hindi, joke lang. I think, kasi this generation, we are, our generation, the millennial generation, is empowered because of social media, diba? Parang we have that power to either help spread real stories, real facts, or we can go the other way. Siguro what we can do to empower the youth is sorry, nawala yung thoughts ko. But siguro as members of the industry, we can work our way to show the youth na parang ito yung dapat gawin. This is how we do stories that would help people. We should show the youth and paano yung tamang gawin so as not to help in spreading fake news. Siguro that's one way of guiding the youth then. Um, we can actually, we can only do so much in helping the youth. Sorry, Marlene.
Marlene, do you want to add
Same
something to
question pa
that?
rin ba yung kanina? Yeah.
Yes.
Siguro pati kami mag-a-adjust, no? Siguro dapat matuto rin tayo mag-TikTok at gumawa ng mga videos maybe na pwedeng, di ba, para mas madali na lang makita kung paano ba yung mga dapat gawin. Di ba? Para lang pare-pareho tayo ng kung mahilig sila doon, why not?
Thank you po, Ms. Marlene. Sir Deal.
I think we can accommodate one last question, Aliyah, because we're running out of time. But again, thank you everyone for joining us in this first episode of our webinar series. We are joined by many people from around the world as well. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. Aliyah, do you still have one last question to any of our speakers before we end? Sadly, we have to wrap it up because we promise this won't last for more than 2 hours, and the lecture is just so engaging that we had so many questions. Do you still have one last question, Aliyah, dyan?
Yes, Kuya. So, eto personal question. So, right now kasi, ang mga Gen Z is, except sa pagiging mapusok. So, my question po is that, how can you say to a youth or sa isang kabataan that they should limit their post or di kaya mga sineshare online kahit naman may tinatawag tayong freedom of expression?
All right. So your question is about what's their advice to the Filipino youth or to the youth leaders despite the limitations in social media, correct? Any one of our speakers can answer that question.
Okay. So you don't really need to limit your posts in terms of when it comes to social media, as long as you know that it helps in nation building, or let's say it helps getting the people informed. Just make sure that what you're sharing is the right thing. Just make sure that you're not helping and contributing to disinformation. So I guess that's what users need to do.
Aliyah, if I may add, like what we always say, think before you click. If you feel that a particular article can help other people or can help your audience to be more educated about that particular topic, go ahead, share. Diba? Because it's also very important to help other people to be educated and get informed. But if you have doubts about that particular item and you feel that it may be considered as fake news, then don't share it. Don't click the button. Don't help the propagandist share incorrect information.
Thank you, Ms. Maricel. Ms. Marlene, do you want to add up po?
Kung ano yung gusto mong i-post, and then do it. Pero yun nga, yung accountability and your responsibility mo dun sa mga ipopost mo, yun yung dapat mo rin isipin bago mo yun gawin.
All right, so think before you click. I think that is the main thing.
Before you share, yeah.
Think before you click and think before you share.
We got no question. To our participants, do you have still questions pa po? If you have questions, you can drop it on the Zoom chat box. So if wala na, Kuya, what's next?
If you don't have any more questions, but you have questions that are not answered today, please email them to the youth leaders of the Philippines at gmail.com, or you can send a message to our Facebook page, and we will try to send those questions to our speakers, and we'll send you the answers to that. Any last message, Ms. Pia, one of our co-founders of Youth Leaders of the Philippines, before we end this? You might want to thank our speakers.
Yes, marami akong natutunan today, and I hope our youth leaders, marami din natutunan, especially on this particular topic. Gaya nga na nasabi ko, as a journalist, I'm very, very proud of our speakers today. At nakikita rin naman sa pagsasalita nila how passionate they are about educating our audiences on this kind of topic. And yung kanina dun sa tanong lang din ni Aliyah, gusto ko ding ipaalam din sa mga kabataan no na if you're using social media, you use it to express yourself. Huwag naman masyadong formal, 'di ba? We don't think too much about posting everything. If you feel that you need to use that platform to express yourself fully, then go ahead. But you have to be responsible din kung ano yung mga sinishare natin, di ba? Because akala nyo lang siguro na okay lang siya dahil it's just a platform for self-expression. No, social media has become a very powerful platform. And kailangan natin na to exercise responsibility dahil yung mga pinopost natin, hindi lang siya parang for entertainment lang na ating mga friends. Makikita natin na yung reach niyan napakalaki and it would influence the lives of people and even democratic institutions. Gaya nga ni nasabi kanina, yung elections, di ba? So we must exercise responsibility as well. So yun lang, maraming salamat. But before anything else, before we proceed, no, I just want to say na thank you very much ating mga speakers, si Mase, si Marlene, and si Dale. And hindi nyo alam, meron silang YouTube channel and kung pwede kayo din mag-promote and mag-plug para yung mga bago ninyong fans ng mga kabataan ay alam nila kung saan pa kayo mapapanood. Dahil hindi lang tungkol sa journalism and fake news and disinformation yung kanilang mga pinag-uusapan sa kanilang YouTube channel. So, go ahead guys and promote.
Ayan, ako, mauuna na ako. Don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, to our YouTube channel. It's called Iba Tayong Pinoy. Yan, ang topics namin usually we focus on jobs, career. So para doon sa mga kabataan na nag-iisip kung ano ba yung mga course na dapat nilang kunin sa college, we have an episode about it. So we hope na makatulong kami for parang career guide, diba, doon sa mga bata. So yan, Iba Tayong Pinoy. Every Sunday, 2 p.m. yung bago naming episodes.
Yes, i-like nyo rin yung aming Facebook page. Sana kung may time kayo to visit din. And pwede din nyo din malaman yung mga buhay ng mga overseas Filipino workers sa ibang bansa, 'di ba? So kung kayo nag-iisip kayo mag-work kaya ako abroad, doon makikita nyo kung ano yung mga pinagdaanan nila bago sila naging successful or kung paano ba yung adjustments na ginawa nila nung pumunta sila doon sa ibang bansa.
And syempre, bukod sa YouTube and Facebook, we also have, syempre, Instagram at Iba Tayong Pinoy. Yung Iba Tayong Pinoy, we just don't talk about yun nga, about work and all. Dun, we will get inspiration din from the people we interview. Siguro they will inspire you kung ano yung pwede nyo gawin after work or while studying, you know what you really want in life. O, diba? Ayan.
Yes, about love. Di ba? Sumingi talaga ako. Naalala ko kasi naging guest namin si Joe the Mango. Siguro hindi na nila inabutan yun. Pero nakakakilig kaya yung episode na yun.
Oh, parang hindi na
siningit ko talaga.
si Joe the Mango. Pero naririnig ko siya, kilala ko siya, pero parang hindi yata namin generation.
Talaga ba, Pia?
So, Aliyah, why don't we proceed? Anong next part ng ating program?
So, kanina naman na kuya, reaction sana. So, may I call on one of our founding core members sa core group ng Youth Leaders of the Philippines, Mr. Hadrian Duran, for to give his reaction on our first episode on the webinar series, YLP Connect, a webinar series for youth. So, Kuya Hadrian, take it away.
So we do recognize that everything now is mostly online based, and that is a really big factor. And this is the reason why the webinar is really significant, by the fact that most of our lives today now happens in the internet. We can see that with the emergence of various e-governance systems. We see recently the Commission on Higher Education said that, which is really a controversy. We would be having flexible learning for the year 2021 and so on, because there has been a lot of investments in technology, and also in the HEIs there are a lot of investments. You can also see the digital economy sprouting like eBay, Lazada, Amazon, Shopee. You can see those things, no? All of the emerging online sphere for Filipinos, for the youth, actually in the entire globe. This poses a risk of misinformation because everyone can speak clearly, sometimes anonymously, in the social media, which is a really big responsibility, if you ask me. So, as a public administration student, I asked myself, what could be the actions of institutions or governments, or maybe the initiative of youth leaders on this part? Maybe we go for campaigns to improve internet etiquette. Of course, release campaigns for to prevent misinformation. For example, maybe in legislation they pass policies or make initiatives in the executive branch to handle this situation, because they need to handle they need to oversee this online sphere that we're talking about, because of the fact that we're all here, especially in the pandemic. And I've had talks with my economics professor. The effects of the online world would be lasting. This would last for decades, and the pandemic has cemented that into institutions from across the globe. Now, of course, citizen participation would be essential for that in the government. And all of this, it upholds better information for everyone, especially to the youth who are in danger, who are really vulnerable. Since by the fact that, of course, most of the youth are still on their way to maturity, as quote unquote, as we say it. So, yun ang yung takeaways ko. Salamat.
Thank you everyone for joining us in our first ever episode on YLP Connect, a webinar series for youth, and we are looking forward to see you again for the next episode.
Responsibilidad natin bilang Pilipino na alamin kung alin ang tama at alin ang fake news, at pati na rin kung paano ito lalabanan. Kaya naman, follow us and like us on Facebook and Instagram at Iba Tayong Pinoy. Ako po si Dale.
Pero dito sa amin, bawal ang fake news, kaya like, share, and subscribe. Ako po si Marlene.
At laging tandaan, think before you share. Para po sa mga bagong episode, samahan niyo po kami tuwing araw ng Linggo, 2:00 ng hapon. Ako po si Maricel, ito ang Trabaho at Iba Pa, dito sa Iba Tayong Pinoy.